Yeah. 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 Mind jazz. Skibbity bop, bop, bop. Skip.
Jazzy in your mind.
Yeah. Trust your gut. You know what's best for you and your family and for your kid.
Hmm.
It's important to talk to doctors. It's important to explore all of the options that you can
Mm-hmm.
to like get on the best footing for your child and your family. But just because somebody says, oh, you can do this thing or that thing doesn't mean that it's going to be the right thing for you. There's just so much going on in the head of somebody with ADD. It's a whole like symphony of things. It's like you're riffing on things all the time and improvising and adapting. So I see that's jazz.
I would say that the mind of an ADHD person can range from Ornette Coleman's free jazz, which sounds like noise,
Uh-huh.
to Count Basie's big band, which is extremely
Oh,
accessible and
yeah.
organized.
Jazz hands, is that what we do?
That's perfect. Bob Fosse, back from the dead.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
We're both wearing green.
Yeah, are we? Cool. That's great. And you
Well,
got the green light. You got a
yeah, but
green.
the lights are
Oh, they changed because it was.
they change. They're on a cycle.
Uh,
Yeah. Just like creates visual interest when we're on like a
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm in the
Like,
basement.
oh, I understand you're weird. Cool.
Okay. And yes, I'm weird. Totally fine. I fully embrace it.
Good.
Yeah. Gotta go pick up my medication after this.
Oh,
Such a,
cool.
it's such a hassle like every month. I don't know why. Like I have to like actually call and have it called in
Yeah.
every month right now. I don't know if that's going to
Oh,
change at some point.
that's weird.
Yeah. And I get you would need to make sure that someone on a controlled substance or like a stimulant is like doing okay and stuff like that. I don't know, but
I don't have that.
it's
Like my psychiatrist called me in 90 days after we figured out what.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
there's
I think
also
I'm
shortages.
yeah. I think I'm just gonna call and see if there's anything or if it's like wait until our next meeting kind of thing. I don't know.
Hmm.
We'll figure it out. But
Sounds fun.
at least I get to go pick it up today and there's not like a lapse.
Shortage. Yes, a lapse. Due
A
to
lapse.
shortage.
Not a shortage.
I am teaching my horse dressage and shortage. Yes, I do not have a horse.
Trying to
Um,
coordinate getting some artwork printed as well with a quickness. So I'm
mhm.
like occasionally checking my stuff.
You know what's funny is
But
they'll say
yeah.
that it's impossible to actually multitask, right?
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
for people with ADHD, it's like impossible not to
You
multitask.
have to
You just,
because
hey,
you're
what I was doing that. I want to go
yeah,
back to that. Oh, I forgot about that.
yeah, 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 yeah. And people have thought it was crazy when I would talk to them about it, and I'm still working on trying to like, incorporate this, but I'm getting better at it. It's
Hmm.
part of how Kevin manages his, is that he really, unless he's really focused in and making progress on something specific,
Yeah.
like he he will work on something for just like a short sprint,
Yeah.
and then go do something else for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then he'll come back and he'll
I
like,
noticed that like when I'm visiting, he'll
mhm.
do that. And I'm like, oh, he probably just doesn't have enough time because I'm here and it's crazy and stuff. But maybe that's the way
No,
he really
no.
works.
Manages it. Like he
Huh.
really like that. And he'll come down and
Interesting.
he'll lift some weights or something, take a little break, play some music, go back up and get some more work done.
I
Um,
relate to that though, because on a certain level, I have to do it whatever I'm inspired to do at that moment to really
yes.
maximize my energy and output and stuff.
Mhm.
But I do watch a to-do list of stuff that I need to get done.
I think there's always like for him and for me, which is again how I'm trying to organize it more these days, where there's definitely like focused goals, like these things absolutely need to get done today.
Yeah.
And but he really tries to keep it to this one work thing, this one family thing, this like one me thing, just very simple, right? Kind of a
Yeah.
amount of focus things that absolutely must get done today.
Yeah. Actually,
And
let me show
then
you this. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
move towards getting them done in bits like that.
Yeah, actually, I have a to-do list. It's always, I never start a new one. It always has everything on it, and some stuff just
Yeah.
never gets done. But I bold the stuff that absolutely needs to be done today or tomorrow,
Yeah.
whatever. And that's how I kind of control which ones are necessities.
Yeah. I don't have my process fully sorted out on it yet. I'm still trying to devise that. But one of the things that I have done a lot more that has really helped is that when I think about something and I'm like, oh, I noticed something, like I take care of it right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if I don't do it right then, if I think about mom, I call or text mom. Don't
Right.
just think about it and, oh, I've been thinking about you all week. I meant to text you way long ago. Sometimes that
Yeah.
still happens,
Yeah.
but I'll do that right away. Or if I think about reaching out to somebody else, like I'll do that. Or I noticed something on the floor that's been sitting there for a few. I'm like, oh, the dog tore his toy apart. Pick
Mm.
it up right away and take care of it.
Yep.
Do the dishes right away, take care of it.
Yep.
And then move on. And as long as I can keep my focus on those main things that need to get done for
Yeah.
the day and not get caught up in all the little things, like addressing them at that moment is so much, makes me feel so much better too, because
Yeah.
I've got the thing done. I don't have to do it later, and I'm not procrastinating on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out of the procrastination mode and into the doing.
Yeah. Because there's this
Yeah,
low level
that's
shame,
definitely something that makes sense.
the low level like shame and guilt
Yes.
that happens from not doing those things. It's not extreme, but it's there. And you just,
Yeah, it's there
you,
and it can build up over time,
yeah.
like like a lot. And so there are certain things that I feel like I've had to move through, like from a regret and acceptance standpoint, where it's like how long I spent procrastinating the thing
Hmm.
or this thing or that thing, and now it's 10 years later and you haven't done any of that thing, or push it forward if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, time dysphoria and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. It's great. It's very positive.
it's awesome. But it does allow you to be adaptable and move through situations fluidly,
Yep.
which like not everybody, some people are like more rigid and can't do that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Do we need to get on a track to talk like specific stuff?
Yeah. Let's do that. I
Okay.
like, I think the natural chat at the beginning is always a good thing. Got
Yeah. 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 I was like, probably like just like a little segment, maybe not the
I think we
whole.
just did our song there.
Did we?
I think I can
Skip
pull that out.
it. MindJazz. Skip it. Bop, bop, bop. Skip.
Jazzy in your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, sounds good. We can.
Let me pull up the mom questions because
Yeah.
it's funny because we talked about almost everything except for, but let's get into that.
Yeah, we did talk about some of that. I looked over them, and there are some things we've already touched on, but can
Yeah.
reiterate and expand on some other things maybe.
When when was the first time that you thought you or Indy might have ADHD? How did you know what happened?
So I think it's harder for me to remember because I was going through it at the same time.
Mm,
And I was feeling like really overwhelmed, like all the time. Like I I think for me as a parent with ADHD, like it's easier for me to get overwhelmed in general. And so when there's a lot more going on with like sounds or things to be done or like the energy of a child, like sometimes that can combine with some other things in my environment and make me like, ah, or like the schedule. And I was not managing any of that because I didn't really know. Of course, I'd been like told that I had anxiety, like
hmm
maybe a little bit of depression here and there. And I had tried antidepressants before, and I tried them again, and they helped. But at the same time, when I got on the antidepressant in the past few years, we were also noticing with Indy, sometimes active, very super intelligent, very creative, difficult time focusing. So he definitely has some more of that inattentive.
Yeah.
Occasionally he's like hyperactive and doesn't know what to do with his body,
Wait,
but
what do you mean? What did you mean by focusing?
like in school, he was having a hard time focusing in and like staying on task in school
Yeah.
and being more disruptive. I think part of that coming from he went to Montessori when he was like preschool.
Yeah.
And then kindergarten.
It sounds Montessori sounds like a Las Vegas singer who's also a dinosaur.
Oh my God. Yep. I'm never gonna be able to think about that the same way.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Montessori.
Montessori.
Yeah, I think being used to that structure at a young age, which is probably much more in line with the way that he learns. And then pandemic hit and he had online kindergarten, which I just don't even know how you do. We tried our hardest. It was a lot of like, crying and like yelling and like upsetness and all of these things, trying to get this young kid to be on a screen for a short amount of time and then do homework with me and not get that socialization. So
Yeah.
I think it's been like a real thing for him too, because it's all that kindergarten is.
Yeah.
And then following that, he went into first grade in a regular school environment that was not Montessori. He's still in that same school and he's doing way better now, I should say. Like he's adapted much better. But it's not made for kids like him.
Yeah.
Regular school is not made for kids like him.
That's interesting.
It's just, and I don't even know how much it's made for regular kids because it's pretty crazy now. I've got
Yeah.
like a kindergartner who has like math homework that's like chill and she's learning and she's doing great at it, but like she has math homework and she's in kindergarten.
What is it? Is it calculus?
Mainly like geometry and basic addition and subtraction and stuff
That
like
is
that.
advanced. We were just learning to tie our shoes in our kindergarten.
Yeah. And she's amazing. And her test scores on math and reading were like, she's a smart little cookie. But back to Indy.
Who did you have for kindergarten?
Mrs. Smuts.
Yeah, I think that's who I had too. I could not
She had a
remember her
big
name.
white beehive.
Yes,
She
big
was
white.
amazing.
Yes, she was great.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Indy.
yeah,
Like, how did you? And I have a follow up on the mom thing.
Okay.
Let's do that first.
What?
When you're so overwhelmed with all of that, did you feel like you were a bad mom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt, but not necessarily just because I was overwhelmed, also because of the way I reacted. Because I was so overwhelmed. I feel like I've been in fight or flight mode for a really long time. And I was also dealing with postpartum. And so I was yelling, like not constantly, but I was yelling. And I think that I feel like that definitely affected him and our whole family. And that's when Kevin was just like, hey, like this, you're not acting like yourself. I really think there's something going on. I think you have some depression. And that's how I realized that I had the postpartum thing going on. And that's when I ended up going back and getting on medication, which I had to move a couple medications before I found the right thing. Just because of like side effects and things like that.
Yeah.
That helped immensely, like immediately, which was great. But then I felt like guilty for, oh, I feel like I missed out on some moments of being like a better mom. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, there's definitely still guilt associated with that I have to give myself grace on and tell myself that you've always done your best and been a great mom and shown him love like the whole time.
Yeah.
You can't look back and only see those things that stand out because of what they were. And that wasn't you all the time.
Yeah. It's probably all parents have things they regret.
Oh yeah.
So,
and I'm sure every parent has yelled numerous times in certain situations and regretted the way they reacted. But every time that we've had any of this stuff, I've always been really good about talking to him about how, hey, I got really upset with you earlier and I lost my cool and I shouldn't have reacted that way. And I'm really sorry about that. We've always been really open talking to him about these things. I think that's helped a lot. But yeah, like that's how I knew about that. And then I think we realized that there was just so much more going on, that it wasn't like the mood things as much as I was just constantly not able to keep track of anything. I was always late to everything. And this is not necessarily all new.
Yeah.
It just was becoming even more noticeable. And the more aware I became of what was going on with me,
Yeah.
the more I was able to see it.
Do you think it actually was getting worse, or you just were like, how come this hasn't shifted for me ever?
I'm not sure, like a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think I've been going on a really long time. And just like anything else, I think it can like compound and become this bigger thing.
Yeah.
Little things over time. And it's just like how little things over time can get you towards your like goal in a positive way. Little habits over time or things you do over time can also be things that keep you from progressing in certain areas. And that's where I was.
Yeah.
And it just got more and more noticeable. It definitely, I think, got like worse. But you know, I'm getting older and there's different like hormonal things that I think affect that too. But ultimately, I realized there was just definitely my brain was not processing things
Yeah.
in a way that I was always at that sort of dopamine kind of deficit, or I was always looking for like the flashy new thing that made me feel good.
Oh yeah. Dopamine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
And I
very
see that
addictive.
with Indy. Like we see that with him still.
Yeah.
And I know that with the lack, like the difficulty in focusing in on school and some of the more disruptive behavior things, that's how we got to getting him tested for ADHD.
Hmm.
And that really helped illuminate more things for me too, like during that process of realizing these other things that were happening still beyond like anxiety and depression. And then,
Hmm.
oh, maybe, and Kevin's, yeah, I think absolutely you do. And I'm like, why didn't you say anything before? But I think we just all realized at the same time and had this like journey together.
It is really crazy how many things you can just not, how long it takes to realize certain things or learn something things in life. And I find I really have to, instead of immediately beating myself up for taking so long, I
Yeah.
kind of have to go, that's life. And if I wasn't, I'm not going to be continuing to learn until
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's another topic we should look at in the future is menopause and ADHD. But because
Yes, I
it
think so
just hit
too.
me that your estrogen levels go down, so your relative testosterone levels go up. So then you can become angrier, basically.
Yes,
Yeah. So
absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think there's some mood stuff going on there with that too. And then it was just all thrown into flux because I had Indy in 2015. I had two miscarriages in
mm,
between, which was also really tough in a lot of ways, including hormonally. And then we had June in 2018. And following that, I had a very difficult recovery from a second C-section.
mm,
And and then I think I just like all of those hormonal things and all those changes just made things even tougher from that anxiety, depression perspective. And without being taken care of the ADD that I didn't know I
mm.
had, because all of those things are intertwined. And that's
That's
how
a
my
lot.
psychiatrist talks about it all the time. It's like all intertwined. You don't know which one begot the other or if they all have
Right.
always coexisted or what,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I'm glad you're untangling
Yeah.
it because that's just like,
Yeah,
knock one thing down at a time and it makes it easier. Should make everything, the next thing easier and easier, hopefully.
for sure. And that's why, like, to the point of something I think you were going to talk about, we're considering, let's look at maybe a medication again to try out with Indy because he has some of the mood things and he can be like generally grumpy. And I think it's just affecting him overall, along with his like focus and the other things. That stuff, it helped me so much with that. And I was able to get more done and gain more confidence from getting more things done. And he really needs that as well. And
Yeah.
so if the medication is going to help him to his brain to focus in the way that it needs to, like we want to explore that. And I know he's open to it. So
Cool. That's
I just
great.
want to see if that's what we've got going on, like from the mood perspective too.
Yeah. You're talking
Is
about
this
like
thing going to address all of it?
a series of antidepressants or something, finding the right one type of thing.
No, like a stimulant for his ADHD.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like
Some
I
people
think
do best on both, right?
there's
Both
an
things they
extended
do.
release like Ritalin that be really good for kids with like low side effects, and it's not a you have to take multiple pills a day.
Yeah.
Don't have any like the ups and downs, hopefully, and not too bad on the side effects. So I think that's something that we would be willing to try to see if that helps him in a way that he's feeling more confident and thus less negative.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
a lot of times it's like the negative thing, or he has to say the June's doing something and he's like, it's not like that. It's blah, 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 blah. Like it's everything. Like it's nonstop. And we don't want that for her either. You know?
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
tough.
there are a lot of things, a lot of moving parts in a
Well,
family with ADHD.
yeah. And I relate to that too. I know I always appreciated grandma's mom's grumpiness because she
Yeah.
was so funny when she was growing. But I had that too. And I just did a video the other day that I haven't edited that's about how getting into comedy helped me to see what's funny about everything. And that made me more positive about everything.
Oh,
So
I like that.
that's something to consider. Because again, something like what's the game that we were playing, the video game that we bought the skin for thing?
Oh, Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
That is all fight or flight. That
Oh,
game is a
yeah.
fight or flight experience.
It
Uh,
is. It's exhilarating and it's also, whoa, okay, I'm done for, I gotta take a break from this.
yeah,
Like it's also a little overwhelming sometimes. And I'll be
yeah.
like, my heart's pounding and I'm like, ah.
And that reminds me, as we grew up, we were always like, when we did those long car ride vacation things, we would listen to Chicago, of course,
Or
but
Bill Cosby
yeah,
comedy.
yes, comedy.
Yeah.
And then they watched The Simpsons with us. They watched The
Yes.
Muppets with us. Just an idea I'm having that inject more comedy.
Comedy. Yeah. Yeah. The kids have watched like every single Simpsons at this point,
Oh my God.
and they're into Futurama now. And I
That's
know
what,
it's like a little more adult, but it's also it's like as long as you don't repeat some of the like questionable stuff, like this is really funny and like really great. And I love that they love it.
yeah, at least they're not watching Rick and Morty or something.
I think they have once
They have,
before. They actually really love Adventure Time, and I
yeah,
think that's so fun. And
that's
like
a very positive one.
it's really positive, and every like profane word is really just some funny, goofy word instead.
Mm-hmm.
Like the boing loins. He hit me in the boing loins. Yeah. That's what we've been saying around here lately. It's
My God, that's good.
yeah.
Okay, here's a question for you. Turn
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
what have been some unexpected positives that have
Hmm.
come from living with ADHD for both you and Indy and everybody?
Yeah, because probably June. I think one of the positives for sure of Kevin and I both having ADHD and having kids with ADHD is that we are coming from a place of understanding kind of what's going on in the head of somebody with ADHD. So hopefully we can help to
Mm-hmm.
guide and address things in a way that our parents weren't able to. Not
Yeah.
necessarily because they couldn't, but because they didn't know.
Yeah.
Um, and Kevin's parents only knew what doctors were telling them at the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was a very different time. And so he tried tons of different medications, and some of those had side effects that made him like act like kind of a dick. And so then that kind of messed with some family dynamic. Like you've got all these things. So that he's got that childhood experience. I have the experience of figuring it out later in life. And so he can think from a perspective of what it was like when he was a kid to be medicated and to go through something
Mm-hmm.
with AD. And I
Right.
can think about my current experiences and that Indy and I are very similar
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we think and behave a lot of times. And maybe some of the medications that are working for me or the techniques that are working for me might work for him. I think
Interesting.
that's a big positive there.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, I think mainly just that we're like super creative, have lots
Mm-hmm.
of ideas. And so we have a lot of fun, like being creative together and like getting excited about different stories and movies and books and creating artwork together and
Mm-hmm.
music. And we just share in those experiences together because we all have such like varied and vast interests. the explorer kind of thing, the explorer syndrome.
Yeah.
Um, and I think since we're also curious, we're really open to new experiences and meeting people, and we're pretty like flexible and adaptable. Yeah.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. That's a pretty short answer,
Well,
but
do you know any other families? Are you like any of Indy's friends or your friends that are also experiencing like an ADHD family dynamic?
I know like other people who maybe have some ADHD tendencies. I know other people with ADHD. Not all of them have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a friend who doesn't have kids, but he's been on like so many medications and has been resistant to some of them that gets to do like experimental like medicine. And that's been he's found some things that have worked for him, but we've been able to compare notes on our medications and stuff like that. And he's a super funny, great guy. But then I have a friend who completely understands the ADHD thing. I'm not sure if she's on medication or if
Mm.
she just recognizes that she's probably ADHD and just has come up with her own workarounds.
Mm-hmm.
But she's also very creative
Right.
in marketing. And I think you find a lot of those. I'm sure there are people that I'm not thinking of or that I don't know about
Yeah.
having it.
Yeah.
Because I think you end up gravitating towards people that are into your similar interests. And so
Right.
I know a lot of people in design and art and music world, and there are probably a lot of them that
So you
have.
would say you're not like a person that makes a lot of mom friends that are like Indy's like peers or whatever.
Oh no, I have acquaintances and some people that our kids have play dates with and stuff like that too, but I don't think that their kids have ADHD.
So is it
Um,
different? How does that change the dynamic of your relationship with them?
I think the dynamics of relationships with adults meeting when their kids meet and stuff like that is interesting and different anyway, because
Mm.
everyone is so different. Some people are awkward around other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel that way, but a lot of times I'm more outgoing and maybe disarming because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe I can be a lot without trying to be because I'm just like positive and excited about stuff
Mm.
and I like to talk to people,
Yeah.
but not always. Sometimes I'm really like feeling awkward and I don't know if I want to do this in social situations, but I just
Yeah.
kind of try to push through it and just ask people more questions and be more interested in talking about them and realizing that it's not about me
Yeah. Yeah.
or what anyone thinks about me or my kid. It's about, hey, how are you doing? Oh, what do you do?
Yeah.
If you ask other people questions, they'll want to talk about themselves and then they can feel more comfortable.
That's great.
So I've gotten a lot of practice with that. It's definitely not easy at first. And yeah, a lot of times I'll second guess, like, did I, what did that sound like when I said that?
Oh
Or should
yeah.
I
Oh
not
yeah.
talked about that?
Oh yeah.
Or yeah,
It's
so
funny because I had that idea after the first podcast. I texted Kim and I said, "Oh, we should probably have our significant others on to talk about what
uh-huh.
they saw in us." And then later I was like, "That's really selfish." Like I thought
That's
if
really
Lynn,
self-centered, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, I was like, and the way I just reversed it, I was like, if Linda came to me and she was like, "I'm on a podcast, could you come on and talk about me?" I'd be like, "You are really self-centered." But like, I have to do that. I have to switch it to see it sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I know. And then I have to think like, okay, don't have that thought like, why would anyone want to listen to or watch a podcast with you and your brother talking about ADHD? I'm like, because you've heard other people's podcasts talking about it and you
Yeah.
liked them and you found them helpful. So there's probably
Yeah.
other people out there like you, and there's millions of people in the world. So
Mm-hmm.
who
Oh,
knows?
there's actually billions.
Oh, but by proxy,
There
there's
are
also
also
millions.
million. There are also tens of people.
I'm thinking maybe there's millions of people that would be interested in our podcast.
Really?
Millions? I don't know.
Maybe 18.
But that's probably more realistic at this stage for
Yeah.
sure. But I like to have big dreams and goals. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Tangent.
So that's why I have this list of questions that I use Chat GPT to do my homework.
Yeah.
So based on what you've experienced, if you were going to talk to other parents who were just starting to navigate ADHD with their kid or with themselves or whatever, is there advice you would give them?
Trust your instincts. Like, trust your gut. You know what's best for you and your family and for your kid. It's important to talk to doctors. It's important to explore all of the options that you can to like get on the best footing for your child and your family. But just because somebody says, oh, you can do this thing or that thing doesn't mean that it's going to be the right thing for you.
Right.
And you might have to try a number of different things. You're going to have a lot of patience and even more so than usual. And recognize that I think it's really important to talk about it positively and about how I wouldn't talk about it as like attention deficit. I would say it's just a different type of attention. And some of the things that you're able to do as a child with ADD are things that other kids might not be skilled at. And you have all of these strengths because of it. So what I want to do for Indy, and I think this leads to another question, moving forward is not just the medication, right? It can't be, because medication can help you get more clarity. Like I liken it to a fog that was just completely dispersed from my brain once I got on the right medication. And so it's absolutely worth pursuing if you're willing to. I was really resistant to stimulant medication for myself and my child at first, but I've seen great benefits. And so I want to try that for him too. However, I think also recognizing that there are going to be behavioral things. There are going to be like tips and tricks and like workarounds and things like that that you're going to have to find as a family, and your child's going to need to find, and you can help them with, to navigate things in a world that's not built for them. But they are like their own beautiful individual person that can figure that out, you know? I think just trying to frame it as positive, because I think one of the things too is that I am really challenging myself to not notice and call out every single thing that needs to be done. Like I praise my kids all the time for when they do things that we've asked them to do before, that they just like do on their own, when they help each other, like all of these things, right? When they help us, when they do a great job on something, all of the things. But I also have a tendency to like, oh no, but you didn't do this, or you need to do that, and instead of that, it's like still like recognizing those positive things and just trying to recognize that some of the things that your child might be doing, it's not because they're trying to be difficult. It's not because they're trying to be mean or grumpy or whatever. That's not them. That's what's happening in the brain with that like balance in their brain and the ability to, their brain isn't like metabolizing things in the same way as someone else. And it's not, they're not in control of that until they are.
Yeah.
So not getting down on them for those things, because then that can lead to like shame for them and feeling like there's something wrong with them.
That's funny. I think I do the same thing with young people, because I'm constantly amazed by both how I used to view things and now how I see things that I've got more experience or whatever. And then I think young people think they have it all figured out and they don't listen to old people or whatever. But like you said, there's already a generational gap. So why create a conflict about that? I did have this weirdest thought when you were talking about praising the kids, because we have dogs. So maybe it's not that weird that I thought this, but I was like, why aren't there dog treats for kids? It could just be like candy or something, but like, why don't, you know what I mean? It's like, you get rewarded with a piece of candy when you do something.
That would be great if my kids already didn't have like problems with sweets.
Yeah, I know.
Especially my daughter. Like she will find it anywhere, and it's like the first thing they might ask for, like she might ask for in the morning, especially on a weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, honey, not until at least after lunch.
Why don't you just say no? You have to earn it.
I don't really want to put it in that kind of the earning things, that one thing. I think it needs to be more specific about like
Yeah.
we're gonna work on some more like earning things over time so that the kids can earn. Like she wants fish
Oh
and he
yeah.
wants
Do you remember we had this little system on our fridge with stars and stuff, and like, if we did the right things, we got. Do you remember that? We could.
I vaguely, but yeah, I'm
Yeah, we
sure.
earned
At
rewards.
one point, mom had
Huh.
these two jars, and it was like the warm fuzzies and the dark meanies, and like
Okay.
there were these white fuzzy balls and these dark fuzzy balls, and I think she might have even put googly eyes on all of them. I'm not even sure, but if we were being kind, we got like a warm fuzzy in the jar, and then we had dark meanies that would go in the jar if we were doing something that was neat.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did
I
anything else?
definitely remember that.
Did anything else happen after that, or were we just more aware of how dark we were?
I don't really know. It was quite a long time ago.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
funny. That's funny.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one more thing and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. I like that we're keeping to like close to 45 minutes. I think it
Yeah,
feels like a good time.
I like it too. That's funny because I had ChatGPT come up with all these questions, and as I look at them, I'm like, Are
I
there,
mean,
here we go. Are there any misconceptions about ADHD that you would like to address or debunk?
yeah, that everybody has ADHD.
Oh, they don't, huh?
Yeah. Because I think especially when you're realizing it, or maybe it's just me, and we're talking with like friends or people we know or whatever, I probably mention it just in a conversation because it comes up. Or I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. It's like an ADD thing or whatever. And felt like I've had like dismissive responses before here and there. Oh yeah. Oh, you're AD. Oh yeah, you're ADD. Or oh yeah, everybody has ADD. And it's no, they flip and don't. They do not. Not
Yeah.
everybody has it. There are people who like I think we talked on the first podcast about how I'm sure there are plenty of people who are still undiagnosed
Oh, yeah.
because of the time, because of what people didn't know, and still there's plenty we don't know
Hmm.
about ADD. But at the time when we grew up, sure. So there's probably a lot of people out there that do. But no, not everybody has ADD. It's not just about having too much stimulus out in the world these days. And so now we only watch things in short form. So now everyone has ADD. No, that's about patience and how we're getting used to formatting for like the way we watch things. Totally different. ADD has affected my entire life. And I didn't know it for a really long time.
Hmm.
I'm not going to cry right now. But it's serious to me. Like it's who I am, and it's something that I didn't really realize about myself. And I felt like we talked about on the first podcast about how for a long time I was like, why can't I do these things? Like,
Hmm.
why can't I do this? What is wrong with me? It makes me feel like I'm not like a serious person, or I can't be like taken seriously or trusted because like why can't I do all these things? And so to realize it late in life and be going through that and working through it myself and learning how to be myself again in a way I haven't gotten to be for a very long time, if ever, is a really big deal to me. And so I think it's just really good for people to listen when people talk about things like that, because it is like it's not necessarily like mental health. I guess it is, and people are more sensitive to that now than they used to be.
Yeah.
But it's really just about holding some space for friends and acquaintances. And if somebody like talks to you about that, don't dismiss it. Like just listen and like truly listen to what they're saying,
Yeah.
you know? I
Yeah.
think,
I think those are all great points. The problem is that there are some people who can't understand people with different experiences or viewpoints, and there also are people who are undiagnosed who may be saying that because they do have it and they just haven't been
Right.
diagnosed.
Yeah.
So don't minimize it if you could have it. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think the stat we found was like the estimate is that only 20% of people have been diagnosed, or maybe it's only 20% are getting support for it. Anyway,
We'll have to fact check the stats.
yeah, we're gonna fact check that. We're gonna get someone much more responsible and diligent than us to fact check.
Yeah. Like
But
Linda, maybe?
yeah, no, she's too busy.
You're like, no, she has no interest in doing that.
Joke about yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was writing a joke the other day. I was like, mental health is so important. It affects everything we do. And so if you're not talking about mental health, you're crazy. It's a semi-dad joke, even though I'm
Yes,
not a dad.
it's dad joke, but I appreciate jokes.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
There's nothing wrong with a good dad joke.
thank you.
As long as it's good.
All right. I think we've hit it.
Yeah.
A deeper dive into Kim's experience of ADHD along with her child, Indy, and her family into Kim's brain. You will
Into my
escape.
brain.
You will still be okay after the episode.
Get into my brain.
Wait, I'm going to put that earlier.
Get into my brain.
All right. All right. We hope that this is helpful to people. And if you're listening, thanks. If you have comments, please put them below wherever you see this. And
if you'd like to know anything
that
you'd like us to talk about, or
like where does Brian get his
you think
fashionable
that
shirts?
we should interview,
Yeah.
or have on the podcast.
Yeah,
where do you get your fashionable shirts? Is that like a suede type of material?
It's actually a kind of a corduroy. It's a very
and it's short sleeved.
Yeah.
What is going on here? And this is how you know. I'm wearing a sweater because I'm in the Midwest. You're wearing short sleeves because you're in the South.
Yes, that's true. Sponsored by Amazon.
Southeast.
Oh,
all right. Okay,
MindJazz.
until next time on MindJazz. Jazz hands, is that what we do?
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay.
All right.